Your phone is the most intimate object you own. It knows where you are at every hour. It holds every conversation you have had, every photograph, every message, every call you made at 3 in the morning, when you needed to hear another person's voice. It is also, when it rings, a door. A door that opens into your life, from wherever the caller is standing. Most of the time you know who is on the other side. Most of the time. The 3 people in tonight's stories answered their phones and found something waiting on the line that they could not explain. Not a voice. Not a message. Not static. Something else. Something that knew them. Something that was patient. Something that did not stop calling until it got what it wanted. They are still not sure what that was. Story number 1. The 18th call. I am going to tell this story as precisely as I can, because precision is the only thing that makes it believable. And I need you to believe it. I am 34 years old. I work in financial compliance. I am not a person who believes in the unexplained. I am a person who traces discrepancies to their source. That is, in every sense, what I do for a living. In January of last year I began receiving calls from a number I did not recognize. Not a withheld number. Not unknown. A full number. Local area code. 10 digits that looked like any other 10 digits. The first time I answered and said hello. Silence. Not the silence of a bad connection. Not the silence of someone who has dialed wrong and has not yet spoken. The specific silence of someone who is there. Who is present. Who is listening. Who has chosen not to speak. I said hello again. I said, can I help you? The silence continued for 11 seconds. I counted. Then the call ended. I called the number back immediately. It rang out. No voicemail. No answer. The second call came 3 days later. Same number. Same silence. This time I said nothing after the first hello. I waited. 15 seconds of that particular presence. Then the call ended. I searched the number online. Nothing. No registered business. No personal listing. A number that existed on no database I could find. The calls came every 3 to 4 days. Always between 6 and 9 in the evening. Always the same silence. Always ending between 10 and 17 seconds after I answered. I began keeping a log. Because that is what I do. Date. Time. Duration of silence before call ended. 17 entries over the course of 9 weeks. On the 18th call something changed. I answered. The usual silence began. I waited, as I had learned to wait. And then, at the 8-second mark, a sound. Not a voice. Not words. A sound that I can only describe as breath. One slow exhale. Deliberate. Close to the receiver. As if whoever was holding the phone had decided on this call to let me know that they were breathing. That they were alive. That they had been there on every previous call. Listening. Breathing. Choosing silence. And on the 18th call, choosing something different. I did not speak. I did not hang up. I held the phone and listened to a stranger's breath for 4 more seconds. Then the call ended. I went to the police the next morning. I brought my call log. I gave them the number. They traced it. The number had been registered to a prepaid SIM card, purchased for cash at a petrol station 14 months earlier. The SIM had been active for exactly the 9-week period of my calls. It had been deactivated 2 days after the 18th call. The petrol station had CCTV. The footage from the purchase date had already been overwritten. Whoever was calling me had planned it before they started. They knew exactly how long they intended to do it. They stopped when they were ready. Not when I reported it. Not when they were caught. When they decided. I have not received another call from that number. I have not received another call like it. But my phone sits differently in my hand now. Heavier. I look at the screen before I answer. The way I never had to before. And sometimes, in that moment before I pick up, I think about the 18th call. About the breath. And I wonder how many calls I would have received if I had not gone to the police. I wonder what the 19th call would have been. Story number 2. Her number. My grandmother died on a Tuesday in March. She was 87. She had been ill for a long time. Her death was not a surprise. It was a loss, and a deep one. But it was not unexpected. We had had time to say what needed to be said. I tell you this so you understand that what I am about to describe did not happen in a state of acute grief. I was sad. I was not unwell. I was not experiencing anything that would explain it. My grandmother's phone was a landline, a handset in the kitchen of her house, that had the same number for 31 years. After she died, the house went into the estate process. My mother was dealing with it. The phone line remained active during the process, because the solicitor's office occasionally needed to reach someone at the property. 11 days after my grandmother died, I received a call. I was at work. A normal Wednesday afternoon. My phone showed a number I recognized immediately, because I had grown up dialing it. My grandmother's number. I stared at the screen for the full duration of the ring. 4 rings. I know because I counted them. The way you count things when your brain needs to do something other than understand what it is looking at. On the 4th ring I answered. Silence. Not the silence of a misdial. Not the silence of a telemarketer's automated system searching for a live connection. A silence with texture. A silence that had the quality of a room in it. The specific acoustic of a small kitchen. Ambient sound below hearing. The sense of a space. I said her name. I know how that sounds. I know what you are thinking. I said her name anyway. Because it was her number. And she was the only person I could think of. And something in me said her name, before my rational mind could stop it. The silence continued for 6 seconds. Then the call ended. I called my mother immediately. I asked her if she had been at the house that afternoon. She had not. I asked her if anyone had access to the property. The estate agent had a key. The solicitor had a key. No one was scheduled to be there that day. My mother called the estate agent. No one had been to the property. We arranged for a friend to go and check the house. The doors were locked. The windows were secured. The phone was in its cradle in the kitchen. There was no one there. My mother had the phone line disconnected the following week. She said she had been meaning to anyway. I have told 3 people this story. All 3 of them offered explanations. A fault on the line. A call routing error. A telemarketing system that had picked up the number from an old database. I listened to all 3 explanations. None of them account for the room. The specific acoustic of a small kitchen that I had stood in 1,000 times and knew by its sound the way you know a voice you have loved since childhood. I heard the room. That is the part one cannot explain. That is the part that will not leave me. Story number 3. The voicemail, the most extraordinary story in the 10 video series. I want to tell you first that I have a completely rational explanation for the beginning of this story. I want to tell you that so the end of it lands correctly. I am a psychiatric nurse. I work with people in crisis. I am trained to distinguish between what is real and what the mind produces under stress. That distinction is, professionally, my entire skill set. I am telling you this because I need you to understand that I applied that skill set to what happened to me. Rigorously. Repeatedly. Over a period of 4 months. And I still do not have an explanation. It began on a night shift in October. I was working on a secure ward. 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. The ward was quiet. Most patients were settled. I was doing paperwork at the nurse's station at around 2 in the morning, when my personal mobile phone buzzed in my pocket. Not a call. A notification. A voicemail. From my own number. I looked at the notification for a long time. From my own mobile number. Duration, 1 minute 14 seconds. I had not called myself. My phone had been in my pocket. Locked. Silent. Undisturbed. I opened the voicemail. For approximately 50 seconds there was silence. The same quality of silence I have heard described by others in situations like this. Not empty, but occupied. The silence of a space with someone in it. At the 50-second mark, a voice began. My voice. My exact voice. My cadence. My pronunciation. The specific way I run words together when I am tired. It said 3 sentences. I have memorized them because I have listened to the recording more times than I can count. It said, "You need to check on room 6. She has not been breathing correctly for the past hour. You need to go now." I sat with the phone in my hand. I am a psychiatric nurse. I am trained to recognize when something is wrong. I am also trained to recognize the symptoms of extreme fatigue and the ways the mind can produce experiences that are not real. I applied both of those frameworks to what I had just heard. Then I walked to room 6. The patient in room 6 was a woman in her 40s. She had been stable at my last check 40 minutes earlier. She was not stable. Her breathing was labored in a way that had not been present at my previous check. I will not go into clinical detail. What I will tell you is that I called the on-call physician immediately. That the physician attended within 4 minutes. That the patient received intervention that night. That her medical team later told me was time critical. She recovered fully. The recording is still on my phone. I have shown it to the hospital's IT security team. They confirmed that the voicemail was sent from my own number. At 2:07 a.m. They confirmed that my phone made no outgoing call at that time. They confirmed that they had no technical explanation for how a voicemail can be sent from a number to the same number by a device that made no call. I have shown it to 3 separate telecommunications engineers. None of them have been able to explain it. I have played it to the patient it was about. She listened to it once. She did not speak for a long time afterward. Then she said, "That sounds like someone who cared very much about whether I was all right." I did not know what to say to that. I still do not. The recording is still on my phone. I have never deleted it. I do not think I ever will. A phone call is the simplest thing in the world. One person. Another person. A voice carried across whatever distance lies between them. The 3 people in tonight's stories answered calls that did not follow that simplicity. A caller who planned their 9 weeks of silence and ended them on their own terms. A number that rang from a house where no one was living anymore. A voicemail sent from a phone to itself. In a voice that should not have been possible. Saying something that needed to be said. I do not know what connects these 3 stories. I do not know what they mean. What I know is that each of these people answered when they did not have to. Stayed on the line when everything in them said to hang up. Listened to the silence until it became something else. And in one case, what they heard saved a life. Your phone is ringing. Answer it. Thank you for listening. Comment your story. I read every story you send. Subscribe for new stories. And if you get a call tonight from a number you do not recognize, stay on the line a little longer than you normally would. Just in case.